What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel. Ladies and gentlemen of the Rob Corps, if you're not a member of the Rob Corps, if you stumbled across this channel randomly, make sure you hit the subscribe button to become part of the Rob Corps. You guys know how I get when a story makes me excited. Right? You guys know how I feel. Well, this story is amazing. Oh my God, it's so well written. So this is done by a guy named Carl Ballers, right? And what this story does is it basically tells us how it was that Doctor Doom killed the Marvel Universe. Now, the reason why I said this is not Secret Wars 2015 is for a couple reasons. The first is because it's based on the original Secret Wars, or at least the aftermath of the original Secret Wars. The other half of this is that when people think of Doctor Doom destroying the Marvel Universe, they think of Secret Wars. And so I want to make sure that they didn't believe that I was kind of rehashing Secret Wars, that this was a whole different set of events here. But with Carl Ballers, what he initially does when he opens this comic is he basically picks up with Doctor Doom and the Celestials. Now this is really cool because Doctor Doom is literally going against all of them, and we get this really cool monologue, and that's the greatest thing about the story. To be quite honest, that's the best aspect of this story, is that it's all Doctor Doom's inner monologue. There's almost no wording from anybody else. There's a few lines here and there, but it's almost entirely from his perspective. But what he tells us is that he's seen so many things. He's seen, villains of the utmost power. He's seen beings who are neither heroes nor villain of incredible power. He's seen young boys with power to control the stars. He's seen men that can warp the very fabric of reality. But in the end, he's not afraid of any of it. And the reason why is because he possesses a level of power that's far beyond what anybody else is in control of right now. In addition to him going against the Celestials, where they immediately attack him, it seems as though they've actually got him on the ropes. It seems they actually have him defeated. But what we do is we get this back and forth, travel through time. And this is one of the things that he does. This is one of the things that Carl Ballers does, is he jumps back and forth between the past and the present. Now, previously in this, or I guess in the beginning of this, he had gone through the origin of Doctor Doom, but I've already got videos on that. So if you guys want to know about the full origin of Doctor Doom, as it was written by Ed Brubaker in the Books of Doom, you're welcome to check out those videos, which you'll find down in the description of this video. But what we can do is kind of skip over that origin and really just jump to him becoming Doctor Doom, and what we learn is that when Victor Von Doom stepped into the role of being the head of Latveria, when he basically took over Latveria, when he instigated a coup against the existing ruler, when he cast that guy off and took his place, that he began a conquest against a multitude of superheroes. Now, this is not a deviation from Marvel's history. The what-if stories are usually deviations. The what-if stories usually break away from the existing Marvel continuity by virtue of a series of events. But this is actually just the normal events. This is Doctor Doom going against the Fantastic Four for the first time. This is Doctor Doom facing off against Spider-Man. This is Doctor Doom facing off against the Avengers and the Inhumans. This is not a new thing. But again, this is really just a scenario where he's showing us his life overall. Of course, we have the instance where he was supposedly killed when he had basically taken the power of the Silver Surfer. Now, what I mean by this is in Fantastic Four number 57, I think it was, Doctor Doom had come up with a scheme to basically steal the powers of the Silver Surfer. Now, this is what that terrible movie Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer was based on. But in that story, this was after the Surfer had been imprisoned to Earth after basically siding against Galactus. In the early days of the Silver Surfer's landscape, the way that Marvel created his solo series was basically by saying that after standing against Galactus had imprisoned him on Earth, and that if he had tried to pass the barrier that basically surrounded Earth that kept him at bay, it would have resulted in the Surfer being destroyed. And so because the Surfer was confined to Earth, Marvel launched a solo series for him that just showed his adventures on the planet Earth. That's really where all that comes from. But Doctor Doom's scheme was to steal the powers of the Silver Surfer and steal a surfboard. The issue with this is that eventually the Fantastic Four tricked him into basically traveling into the barrier, after which Doctor Doom was presumed to have been completely obliterated. Now, his consciousness survived on. His consciousness existed. But what happened shortly after this in 1984 is Jim Shooter wrote the original Secret Wars. Now, this is where the story shifts. This is where we begin to get into the what-if alternate reality situation when we have the Beyonder basically summon the superheroes and supervillains of planet Earth to face off against one another. Now again, because of the fact that I've done videos on the Beyonder and the Beyonders, because I've done videos on Molecule Man, Owen Reese, you'll find all that stuff down in the description, so you can go through all those videos at your leisure and you can basically learn more about these stupidly powerful beings in Marvel Comics, beings that can just bend all space and reality to do whatever it is that they want to. But in the original Secret Wars storyline, Dr. Doom had basically constructed a device that allowed him to steal the powers of Galactus and then in turn steal the powers of the Beyonder. Now in the original Secret Wars story, the Beyonder's consciousness continued to exist in the body of Ulysses Klaue, who was a being that was composed entirely of sound. And then the Beyonder basically struck at Dr. Doom in a moment of weakness, took his power back, and then defeated Dr. Doom. In this story, that doesn't happen. Instead, the mystic Enchantress from Asgard arrives basically to meet Dr. Doom and says, hey, the Beyonder's consciousness is still alive in Ulysses Klaue and he's waiting to strike. Either you can destroy him or you can basically just take off. And so Dr. Doom chooses to take off. And the reason why he does this is because he says in his mind, there was a world to change. There was a lot of work that needed to be done. And so what we do is we show up with Dr. Doom basically arriving on Earth and telling all the inhabitants of Earth that he's going to fix everything. Now, the kicker about this is that the Fantastic Four are dead. Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, Reed Richards, they're all dead. Susan Storm is still alive at the moment, but again, she's confined on planet Earth as she was in the original story. Of course, we have Tony Stark watching the events unfold, and this is a huge shock to them because this is the worst case scenario. Dr. Doom showing up with limitless power, basically bending the Earth to his whim. Now, because of the fact that Doom has faced off against the heroes so much, he knows exactly what their initial response is going to be. You know, we as readers would expect this too, right? Like we would expect the superheroes to stand up against Dr. Doom and to say, no way, we're not going to live under your oppression. And so he starts making examples. The first thing he does is he attacks Wakanda and it falls in under an hour. He defeats the entirety of Wakanda in 1 hour, wipes it off the map. He goes against Atlantis. He defeats Atlantis in less time than it took to defeat Wakanda. You know, he goes to the Eternals. He goes to the Deviants, these beings that have existed since the dawn of humanity, the Eternals having almost godlike power and the Deviants having incredible technology. He goes through and lays waste to them all. From here, he turns his attention to Asgard and he takes out Asgard, destroys it. Now again, Carl Ballers is giving us all this stuff in a really fast rate. He's not giving us a whole lot of information here. To be honest, I would love to see a story that was a little more in-depth where it shows us Dr. Doom taking on all these different territories, taking on Asgard, taking on Atlantis, taking on Black Bolt and the Inhumans. But the reason why I think Carl Ballers did this is because not necessarily to basically blow these things off, but to show us how powerful Dr. Doom is right now. The fact that he can defeat some of the most formidable groups and some of the most capable cities in minutes, if not less than an hour, shows us that none of them can stand against his power. That for him to destroy Asgard, for him to eliminate Odin, to wipe out Odin, to kill off Thor, to kill off all these different heroes that we know so much about, to get rid of them with the greatest of ease shows just how capable he is. And so from here, we basically switch to Susan Storm. Now again, this is usually a role that would be taken up by Reed, but because he's dead, she's the only one left, the only member of the Fantastic Four left alive. Now, this also shows us that despite all these situations, despite the fact that the world is quite literally crumbling down around these superheroes, they still look to the Fantastic Four as sort of this last bastion. They look to the Fantastic Four as this rallying point whereby they can all come together and try to form some measure of a cohesive plan. And so when they do this, it's literally this massive orchestrated attack. Moon Knight, Daredevil, Hercules, Nick Fury is running the show because remember, Captain America's dead. He died on Battleworld in the original Secret Wars story when Dr. Doom killed them all. And so it's really just kind of whoever's left on Earth, those individuals who basically just weren't powerful enough. We've got Scarlet Witch, we've got a handful of others, but none of them can stand against him. I mean, he's just laying waste, laying waste to every last one of them. Now, the kicker to this, the interesting thing about this is that Tony Stark is also one of the most intelligent people. Now, for some reason here with Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, Doom doesn't kill them. And that's one of the interesting things about this. We would expect with the kind of power that Dr. Doom has that he would kill Doctor Strange with almost no effort, just because of the fact that while this is classic Doctor Strange and he is really powerful, he poses a very significant challenge because of his power. In this era of Doctor Strange, we've talked about this, in this era of Doctor Strange, he had a spell for virtually anything, and Dr. Doom talks about this. Dr. Doom says that, for Doctor Strange to invoke the various spells that he needs, he basically has to rely on speech. And so what he does is take away his ability to talk. The other half of this is that because Tony Stark is so intelligent, he could very easily deduce a way to defeat Dr. Doom. And so instead of allowing Tony Stark to do this, Dr. Doom basically forces him to succumb to permanent alcoholism in the sense that he is going to be perpetually drunk. This is kind of a kicker here because, again, I would think that Doom would really just kill them off. This really seems to be more of a respect thing from Dr. Doom in the sense that he recognizes how capable they are, but it's also the fact that Dr. Doom has a greater plan here. Dr. Doom is not doing this for the sake of just being a dick, for lack of a better word. He's got a goal here. His goal is to bring in an unrivaled era of peace, an unchallenged era of peace in humanity's history. The thing about this is that, you know, the way this is written by Carl Ballers, he basically makes it look as though the superheroes are the bad guys here. Granted, Dr. Doom is forcing peace at the end of a gun, but it doesn't change the fact that peace is what's going to happen. And so if the superheroes are standing against this, we can infer one of two things. We can say either the superheroes are standing against this because they don't want peace, or the superheroes are standing against this because they don't want peace at the end of a gun. But the fact remains, they're standing in the way of peace. So it creates some really good philosophical arguments. It's like the debate that we've had multiple times over on this channel when we talked about like Civil War. Yes, Captain America was on the side of freedom, but of what use is freedom to a society that would use that freedom to destroy itself? And this really seems to be the stance that Dr. Doom is taking. Not only that, he also comes to the realization that if the various aliens from around the cosmos begin to realize that the planet Earth is basically devoid of the most capable superheroes, they will seek to attack it. And so to fix this problem, he travels to every single alien race in the cosmos and wipes them all out. The Shi'ar, the Skrulls, the Badoon, the Technarchy, the Brood. I mean, they're all gone, just totally destroys every last one of them. But from here, we see him jump to the realm of Mephisto. Now, this is kind of a kicker when it comes to his character is because, you know, for Mephisto, he is a being that will always come back. He literally feeds on the negative energy, the evil, the vitriol, you know, the hatred of humanity, and it keeps him alive. And so as long as there are human beings in existence, Mephisto, or really just any entity in existence, Mephisto will stay alive, even if he's only in a weakened state based on, you know, his connection to that individual. Not only that, Dr. Doom also realizes the power that Mephisto has, and that he's at his most powerful in his own dimension. And so while Dr. Doom has the power of the Beyonder here that allows him to do almost anything, he takes all precautions here. He takes no risks. And so what he does is he quite literally travels the cosmos and assembles the Infinity Gauntlet, basically bringing all the gems unto himself and then going against Mephisto. Now again, his motivation here isn't to just destroy Mephisto for no reason, it's to gain his mother's soul back, to have his mother's soul freed. Now, his mother's soul being freed is going to allow her to go into the afterlife, but he essentially destroys Mephisto's physical body. And this again is really just an instance where Mephisto is going to reform himself. But from here, we have him going against the Celestials, you know, in this massive battle. And this is really what it was. It was really just the Celestials banding together in this last battle at the Alamo, you know, this last ditch effort to destroy Dr. Doom before he could use his power to basically take over all things in existence. And instead, he destroys every single Celestial in the universe. And so after this massive battle, he basically travels back to Earth. And what he tells us is that with his different campaigns, and because the battle with the Celestials was so extreme, it took 400 and I don't know, some like 70 Earth years in order for that to happen. And so over the course of those 400 Earth years, their battle had impacts on the solar system in and of itself. It changed the rotation of the Earth, it changed its position, and it ended up turning the Earth into it basically ended up bringing about an ice age. And the result is that most all beings that are all humans that exist in the universe have been obliterated. They've been totally wiped out. There are a few that are left here and there, but they are all essentially dying. And so in a sense, while Dr. Doom wanted to bring about peace to planet Earth, he essentially wiped out humanity in the process due to his own rage, his own anger, and his own desire for conquest. And so what he does is he basically says, okay, fine, if this is the case, then I will fix this. You know, if this is what's going to happen, then I'm going to effectively start everything over again. And so what he does is he uses the power of the Beyonder to essentially merge all the energy into himself, travel back to the very beginning of the universe's origin, and travel to what would be the early days of Gallon with this new universe is coming into existence, and essentially join him when the new universe begins. And so in effect, Dr. Doom basically just reset reality using the power of the Beyonder after wiping out all life in the universe. But with that being said, we're going to bring this video to an end. I know this one's a little bit different than the videos that we've done before, just because there's not a lot to run over in terms of Doom's philosophy, but this story was amazing and I wanted to share it with you guys. So if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you hit the subscribe button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.